Hello and welcome to the Love and Compassion podcast with Giselle. We believe that love and compassion have the power to heal our lives and our world. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing content. Today we're talking with Sonny Von Cleveland, who is a nationally recognized motivational speaker, author of Hey White Boy, Conversations of Redemption, and a leading voice for trauma survivors. After overcoming 18 years in prison and a childhood marked by severe abuse, Sonny now dedicates his life to helping others heal, find purpose, and rise above their past. Please join me in welcoming Sonny. Hi, Sonny.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I so greatly appreciate you, and thank you for such a wonderful, warm introduction.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being on the show. I'm super excited to talk to you. I was wondering if you could tell our listeners a little bit about what led you to the point where you ended up in solitary confinement.
Sure, that was a domino effect, I suppose, from being in the position that I was in my life. This was 2008, so I had already had about 9 years in prison, close to 10. I was just a very angry young man lost in a world of gang banging, self-absorption, self-centeredness. I had just previously found out that my oldest son's mother started to have an affair with my brother, and that she was pregnant by him, and that they were going to be taking my son, and I wouldn't be seeing him anymore, and he was going to raise him as his own. And I really, really worshiped my brother, right? Growing up, it was just he and I in a single mother household, and he was always kind of my protector. And when that happened, I don't know. It wasn't about her. It wasn't about the fact that they were having an affair. It was the betrayal from the one person that meant the most to me, the only family member that I had left. There's a million women in the world. It's actually 5 billion or so, and he chose that one.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
had to do that. And that,
Yeah.
like what that does to the kid, to my son, like the fact that you made my son believe he was his father until he was 12 years old, and it was a conglomerate of all of those things. And then somebody had stolen everything out of my cell at one point while I was at work in the chow hall. I worked in the kitchen,
Yeah.
and I just took my anger out on him. And so it was unfair for him. Those circumstances led me to being put into solitary confinement, which ultimately changed my life. So in a sense, I'm kind of grateful that my brother did that. While it cost me my son, it gave me the opportunity to be who I am today. It completely turned my life around going to segregation at that time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And my understanding of your story is that you had also been betrayed by other family members. So that must have been particularly difficult in
Yeah,
terms of your childhood experiences.
it's a thing. Yeah, my first victimizer was my uncle. Growing up, losing my whole family because when I had talked about my molestation and my mother had called the police and turned him in, he was sent to prison for 15 years, and my whole family fell apart. So the betrayal from a family member, I would always wanted family, right? The first, 7, 8, 9, 10 years of my life, we had that family structure, right? There was grandma's house, there was cousins, there was aunts, there was uncles, there was a
Mm.
family. And then after that, it was just gone. And to feel like that was my fault was very heavy. Right?
Yeah.
Like took the blame for that because it was my fault, right? Because I opened my mouth and said something. And so having my brother left, my mom was a very emotionally abusive individual and was very unpresent mentally and emotionally because she was a drug addict. That he was my brother. He was what I clung to. Even though I lost him when I was 11, he was 12. He was taken away and put into the juvenile detention system. And I had nobody. I didn't have a family. I was alone. And so family was very important to me, like trying to cling on to the vestiges of a family structure. And when I finally got reconnected with him, I was 21, he was 23, and it was like I finally have a family, and it might just be one person, it might just be my brother, but I've got family. And just for that, it cut deep, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because, like family's supposed to be there for you, right? You think that those are the people that are supposed to
Well,
be there.
I think we put that on us as a societal norm, right? Like we look at that and
Hmm.
knowing what I know now, we look back at that and we think that blood makes us family, but it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
People say, well, you can't choose your family. Technically you can, right?
Yeah.
The family that I have now, I'm not related to any of them, right? And I
Yeah.
have a beautiful family, except my sons.
Hmm.
But you know what I mean. The family that I have
I
now,
do.
I have the greatest friends, and they are my family. I'm in Cleveland right now at a friend's house. My
Hmm.
friends Wayne and Nicole opened their home to me, and
Mm.
they are family, right?
Yeah.
And my great friends Anthony and Julie and Waylon and these people, they're family, right? And so you
Yeah.
can choose your family, right?
It's what they call the chosen family, right? Yeah.
That's
I
right.
think one of the toughest things about disclosure is the fact that often victims are made to believe it's their fault that things fall apart,
Always.
whereas the perpetrators are very good at shirking responsibility and not accepting it, not putting it where it belongs. And so I can't imagine how difficult it must have been for you to disclose. And one of the things I've seen, I used to work in the child protection system. And my mother experienced terrible childhood abuse, neglect. And one of the things I saw in the child welfare system was how kids' behavior was their language. And so in the school system, in the child welfare system, when they started to act out, there was very little curiosity. Like
Sure.
how, in your biography, like how does a 7-year-old start to get criminally involved? Like what's going on for that child that is,
100%. And they don't ask a question. My son is now 7, my youngest son.
yeah, yeah,
I got dinner with him the other night, and I can't help but look at him and be like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I was locked up for both of my oldest sons. I was locked up for their 12 years of their life. And I look at my youngest son, who's now 7, and I look at that like, I would lose the plot if you put handcuffs on my kid, right? I don't
yeah,
care what he does. Right. I mean, it'd be
yeah,
different if he, shot up a school or something like that. I mean, clearly there's something dislodged there. But if this kid broke into something and you put cuffs on my kid and you treat him like a criminal and you bring him in and you try to charge him with a felony, I'm gonna go just ape monkey bananas. Right? Like, like, are you kidding
yeah.
me? How do you charge a 7-year-old with a felony? But
I don't know.
in my small town, which I'm very thankful that I'm going back there because I'm going to the Secretary of State to dig up these records, right? Because
Yeah.
they exist. It's very difficult to find. It's very difficult to dig up, something that's
Mm.
40 years old, 30 years old, 37 years old, but they exist. So when I got the second time, that's how I kind of recollected the date was because it was used as an offense variable to come up my timeline, the guideline for my time. And it was the 1988 64B Circuit Court in Montcalm County, Michigan, with Edward Skinner was the judge. And it's a felony. It's breaking and entering with intent to commit larceny. And how do you charge a 7-year-old with intent to commit larceny? But the criminal capacity doesn't exist at 7 years old, right? There's no intent,
Yeah.
and the fact that the judge was okay with it, that everybody from the top down was okay with charging this 7-year-old, and my brother was 9, right? Charging a 9-year-old with a felon, like it didn't make sense. And it opened up a can of worms because when all the men that were abusing me went away. And so naturally, in my young mind, I developed my own safety net and can just
Yeah.
continue to get into trouble because, getting probation from the courts, that's just a word, right? Like that is not actually a thing. There's no physical thing there. Get a little whooping and it's over. But I'm safe. I'm protected for the time being, right?
Yeah.
And so it just started a downward spiral in my life that continued, all the way up till many,
Yeah.
many moons later.
Yeah. And if at any of those points somebody had gotten curious instead of judging, if anybody said, you know, what's going on for you, I think outcomes could have been different. Or maybe not. I don't know. I just know that the systems
Well,
we created seem to lack that compassion, the wanting to understand why.
the war on drugs started under Reagan, right? And Clinton
Mm,
continued that mass incarceration, right? And they
mm,
saw the monetary value in treating the institution of corrections like a business. And it's human cattle farm, and that's what it is, right? If we look at the structure of the American institutional system of corrections, it's human cattle farming. It's a business, and businesses have to have customers in order to stay alive, right? And in this instance, the customer is the inmate. Right? If they don't have an inmate, they don't have bunks filled. If they don't have bunks filled, they lose funding capability. Can't facility open. The warden doesn't have a job, all the way down to the nursing staff and the maintenance crews don't have a job. And so the facility closes and everybody loses their jobs. So instead of doing that, do job security. And so they keep these people in prison. We have 5% of the global population in the United States, and we have 25% of the institution incarcerated population. That number is just astronomical. It makes no sense. And so what they did is they started to allow these kids to be prosecuted as adults because not there wasn't enough, right? They had a whole bunch of facilities that needed more beds filled. They need more customers. So let's start charging kids as adults and start putting them in prisons. And that's what they did. And so you have things like Wackenhut in Baldwin, Michigan, the privatized youth facilities, right? There should never be a private prison. That the just the concept of it itself is ludicrous, right? It makes no. If you can build a private prison, why don't you build a private college? Right?
yeah.
Build an institution of learning and rehabilitation rather than, corrections and punishment, because that's what they do, right? They hide behind the initiative of rehabilitation, but they don't actually execute that. Right? They put the
Mm,
programs in place inside of the institutions, which are available for inmates. Inmates can go and take these classes and these programs, and they can have a dramatic effect on your mindset and in your life. But you're dealing with men and women that are not in the mindset of wanting to seek that change because they're so stuck in this cycle. Most of them are not going to proactively go seek out a program that's going to change their life. Right? They get stuck
because,
in their ways, right? Then they're
but
lost in that.
where has an individual lost their humanity that they can rationalize it in their head that it's okay to put a child in jail? It doesn't compute for me. I'm having a hard time processing like where,
It's it's a lack of
like,
compassion, right?
yeah,
At the end of the
I
day,
don't I
it's
don't
greed.
understand.
Yeah,
I've had so many conversations about greed, and greed is just a fear of lack, right? Like if somebody once
yeah,
asked me, it's like, oh,
100%.
how much money does someone need? 500 billion, and that's not enough. The truth of the matter is, they're trying to throw money at something that money's never going to fill that hole. And
Sure,
so it's never going to be enough 500
sure.
million, a gajillion dollars,
Right.
because they're
I
trying to
don't
fill a
think
hole
there
that
ever
doesn't.
needs to be a billionaire, right? Like, there's no need for a billionaire.
I know people that have met like millionaires, billionaires, and they're unhappy. Like so many of them are so unhappy. It's because you're trying to throw something that's not going to fill the hole. So I wanted to
Yeah,
go back to solitary confinement. What was that like?
solitary. It was very lonely. Yeah, over the course of my incarceration, I probably spent a good 4 years or so in solitary confinement. I was constantly in and out of there for fighting, for assaults, for gambling, for tattoos. Because it's a matter of perspective, right? Like I found solitary to be a zenful space of escape, right? Where I can go and sit in this room by myself. I don't have to be on alert. In prison, you're on alert 24
Mm.
hours a day. You're always watching your back. You are always scanning your surroundings, waiting for something to pop off, right? It's just a very hostile environment. And
Yeah.
solitary gives you a bit of a reprieve where you can go sit in solitary confinement and I'm by myself. I don't have to worry. No one can get to me. I can't get to nobody. I can't do anything. So I just read and I can meditate. I can be quiet. I can focus on my thoughts and I can build my internal mental strength. And it either builds you or it breaks you, right? And so,
Yeah.
it's four very small walls that you're stuck in. And pacing was a really big ritual for me. Like I spent probably the better half of my day pacing and talking to myself back and forth. And the things that I'm reading, the books that I'm reading, or the work that I'm doing, I'm talking about it constantly to myself. I must have looked like a nut job right?
Mm.
When you
Yeah.
walk by. Sometimes I'm crying, sometimes I'm mad and I'm angry and I'm arguing with myself about things. And I must have looked like a nut job, right? Because singing, there's wonderful acoustics in it. And I began to learn how to find beauty in negative spaces, right? Like, how do you see your circumstances? Is it this dark, gloomy place, or is it an opportunity to grow, to learn, to try, to do something? And that's a matter of perspective. I found the things that I liked, like the acoustics in the room were phenomenal. So let me sing, and I'll sing,
Mhm.
and I can hone in my tonal range, and you just find things that that you can fill your time with instead of allowing things to dominate your mind, right?
I just want to go back to something you had said, which is, in prison, you're constantly on guard. Prison system cannot be designed for prisoners to overcome and then all of a sudden become loving and compassionate people, because if you're constantly on guard, you're on survival. You're not focusing on understanding the impact of your behavior. You're just trying to still survive. So it's a model that doesn't work. And like you
Well,
said, it's
not
obviously
here.
not meant to work. Yeah.
Yeah, not
Um,
not in the United States, and there are several other countries that have this type of prison structure, but there are some that do it right,
mm,
right? Like if you look at Finland and maybe
mm.
Denmark, maybe some of the European countries that have these men drive themselves to prison every day, right?
Okay.
They get
The honor
released in the
system.
morning, right?
Yeah.
They get released in the morning to go to work and they come back and they check in. They have to turn in their stuff. You have to go back to your dormitory. You have to cook your own meals, right? You have to have a very family styled structured dinner because you all chip in and you cook and you go to these classes and you go to these programs where they cultivate this rehabilitative atmosphere where you
Yeah.
learn things about yourself. You learn kindness, you learn compassion, and you learn empathy. And instead of being out in a world where you know you're allowed to just run free and you're going to, out of just a habitual propensity, do things that you're currently doing, which is why people are stay in a criminal mindset.
Yeah.
Here you're in a structure where it's let's show you the proper way to live, that here's how you change that mindset, here's how you develop new habits, here's how you cultivate these emotional elevations and become a better human being and live life from a lens of love and kindness instead of anger and pain. And it's so successful, right? Their recidivism rates are just nothing. It's so down, and there's no such thing as a 60-year sentence. They just don't do that. Even for some of the most heinous crimes, you might do 20 years, 15, 20 years, but then you have the opportunity to show that you have done the deep work on yourself and rehabilitated yourself, and you can earn some of that time back. But when you have a system like we have here, again, it goes back to the cattle farming business model. They don't want to let them out. They need to keep them in there so that they can continue to get that government funding, which goes some of it into their pockets, right? It's job security for the people that are running the institutions. They don't want to let them out.
Yeah.
It's a problem they don't want to fix. They can't admit that, but there it is. It's the same thing as saving children, of pouring resources into organizations like Operation Lightshine, or the Underground Railroad, or the National Child Protection Task Force. Fund these organizations. They don't want to do that. They'd rather throw $40 billion a year to the counter drug fight and only give $250 million a year to saving kids. Well, that doesn't make sense now, does it? Right? Like, if we don't save these children and find them where they are and turn their lives around and work and focus on prevention, they become the problem you're spending $40 billion
Exactly.
on. And
Exactly. Exactly.
just don't. They want the problem, right?
Mhm.
And even if it sounds conspiracy theory, they don't want to cure cancer. Why would you cure cancer? Right? That doesn't make sense. If we
It
cure
is a
cancer, we
business.
have to close down the cancer clinics. We don't need the billions of dollars a year that cancer patients generate for the doctors, for the clinics, for the government. Right? Why would they
Yeah.
cure it?
Yeah. Yeah. See,
It
yeah, that's really
the
challenging
United
because
States as an entity is born and bred and raised on the self, right?
yeah, the
Which is one of the
individualism.
reasons why I love, countries like Canada, like Europe. The smallest unit is the family. The smallest unit is the household. It's the community. There's really
Community.
not a concept of me. One of the things that I loved most about, like, the country of Fiji, right? They don't have a concept of me. It's us. What can we do as a community to live better lives, to help each other to survive? The American mindset is, what can I do for myself? How do I get more for me? How do I get a bigger house? How do I get a better car? How do I get a bigger bank account? I don't care what that person's going through. That's not my problem. I got to focus on me.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
and that's and it's a ubiquitous mindset throughout the entire nation, and we're
Yeah.
raised on that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there's such an amount of separation, and then we wonder why people feel so lonely and so alone and
Yeah,
so disconnected. And the whole self-made man is a myth, right? There's no self-made man because all those other people help them in their business, but that's just like it's sort of like a delusion. I want to go to so you're in solitary confinement. How did you find your mentor that helped you sort of change your lens or perspective?
well, he found me, right?
Oh, how so? Can you share a little bit?
Yeah. So I mean, when we got taken in, there's a long hallway. There's four of them in these units. There's one upstairs, one downstairs, one upstairs, one downstairs. Four long units or hallways. And on either side of that hallway are cells. And they're kind of staggered. There's one here, there's two, there's one, there's two, there's two, there's one, there's two, right? Like, they're staggered. And so they have, I believe, 25 cells on each hallway. Right. So you have room one, room two, room three, room four, room five, and it goes all the way down, and then it turns around and comes all the way up to 25. And I was in 212, which is the very last cell on the left, and he was in 213, which is the very last cell on the right. And we're at the very end of the hallway, and you
Mhm.
can't see anything. We're staggered away from 211 and 214 are down here, and there's water closets that are in between for plumbing. So you're just separated. It's just the two of us. And
Mhm.
then when I got put in the cell, I'm washing my face off to get the blood and pepper spray out of my face. And I hear him call over, "Hey, white boy, come talk to me." And I cussed him out. I wasn't in a position that I wanted to talk to anybody. I don't want to talk to you. And he just persisted every day. "Hey, white boy. Hey, white boy." I finally broke down. What do you want? And that's where he changed my life, right? His first question he ever asked me was, "Why are you so angry?" And at first I was just really defensive. And then, I thought about it, and I dumped my whole life to this man. I was like, what do I have to lose by telling this guy why I'm so angry? Right? I've been a victim my whole life. And it's time here, let me just tell him. And I anticipated an empathetic, sympathetic response. Like, "Oh, you poor guy, man, that's no wonder you're so angry."
Yeah.
The list I gave him of why I'm angry, it was very, very superficial. And he'd said that sentence to me that, "No, that's why you're mad, and mad is a surface emotion, right? It's
Mm.
temporary. It doesn't last. There's a difference between being angry and being mad, right? Mad is to you stub your toe on something. You don't spend your entire life hating people that build stairs. You don't
True.
hate nail companies that keep stairs together. You don't hate the railing companies that build the railways on the stairs, right? You don't hate
Mm.
stairs. That's mad.
Yes.
You're mad because you stubbed your toe, right?
Mm.
And it goes away. It's temporary. It leaves.
Hmm.
The things that are eating your soul, you're angry about. This anger, it's much deeper. It cuts down to your soul. And you're a very angry young man. And so that had a profound impact on me. How I can't answer this. Well, I can't answer this question. And and he sent me the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, which began the metamorphosis of changing my
Mm-hmm.
life, right? It's to this day, I hold it as one of the greatest books I've ever read. And now I'm actually working with a psychologist out of Florida who teaches logotherapy and, the Viktor Frankl teachings from
Mm.
these books. And I'm like, I, that's full circle. That has come full circle in my life that Viktor Frankl
Wow.
started. And now Viktor Frankl is going to elevate what I know of this game
Mm.
because I'm not educated, right? I'm not an educated person. I have a GED. I have never taken a college course or a college program ever. I just read a lot and
Mm.
experienced a lot. That's the beauty of self-reflection. And when you spend that time introspectively processing your emotion and the trauma that you've been through, it gives you a level of, I dare say, enlightenment. And it gives you perspective and it allows you to see things from a different lens. And I think, I get a lot of people that I work with are like, wow, you're highly educated, but I'm not. It's
Mm.
experiential, right? These are
Mm.
things that I've walked through in my life that have
Mm.
given me this perspective and this clarity on how this thing works. And so we see the people that have all the degrees, and I'm not saying that they don't help, but you haven't been there. You haven't walked the walk. And
Mm.
so some of them have. I'm not saying they all haven't, but I think there's just something highly relatable about people that have been through trauma that are put them in a position to help other people that have been through trauma. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. As a person who is what quote unquote highly educated, I've had to unlearn a lot of the things I've learned. Number one. Number two, the path that you had walked on, like from the experience to even be willing to contemplate how do we love other people, to have compassion. That's a path that not a lot of people have walked or are willing to walk. It takes extraordinary courage and strength and the willingness to go inward because many people want their lives to be solved. Solve my
Yeah.
problems. I will give my authority to you, government or person or leader or guru or whatever. So the path you walked makes you uniquely qualified
Sure.
to do that work because it's so few and far between. An education can only give you the theoretical, but
Right.
ultimately it's the walking the path that really is the essence of everything. And so it's
Yeah.
extraordinary.
And that's what I tell a lot of the people that I work with. I do a lot of this tour that I'm on, this new show
Yeah.
that I've started that I'm shooting right now. This is a
Yeah.
22 city show. And I mean, I'm going all around the country and I'm finding when you create a space for people, when you are that qualified person, you
Yeah.
create a space that people want to come to and they just want to dump. Right. And of course you do, because this stuff has been deteriorating your soul, right? It's like eating
Yeah.
at you and you want to say it so bad. This is why we find we have so many problems in our neck and our shoulders, because those internal wounds and internal damage is trying to come through here. This is your pipeline to healing. And it's
Yeah.
trying to come out and it gets here and it gets blocked and it gets stuffed down and you don't talk about it. So this has to have somewhere to go. And if it doesn't come out, it's going to stay in and it's going to turn into problems. The body's going to
Yeah.
keep the score. It's going to turn into back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain. It's going to turn into arthritis. It's going to turn into cancer. It's going to turn into diabetes. It's going to break your body down because the body was not designed to hold that toxicity.
Yeah.
It's trying to push it out, and this is your mechanism to get it out. And so when I create that space, that's the one thing that they're saying is I just feel so comfortable. And I had a 3.5 hour session with a lady yesterday that I met 3 days ago. And she's
Mm.
like, I just feel so emotionally safe and comfortable. And I don't know why. I don't know you. And she tells me things she's never told anybody else about her life, her husband, her parents, her family, her therapist. She goes to a therapist and she's never told
Yeah.
her therapist. and,
Yeah.
and it's because of that relatability, knowing that I've been through that. I don't have a degree in anything except survival, right?
And
And
actually, that's a pretty good degree. Because if you think about all of the adversity that you have faced to be able to get to the other side of it, it's like you're a beacon for other people so that they're like, look, people have experienced some horrible things. There's a lot of trauma in the world.
lots
And
of
it's
it.
sort of like the amount of trauma that you were able to overcome and get to the other side and say, I am willing to love. I'm willing to have compassion. I'm willing to get curious is extraordinary. Because
Yeah,
again, there's nothing in a book you can't like read about that it's the walking through the path. And I think it gives people hope that they can walk
sure.
through a path as challenging as yours and get
And
to
you
the other
can.
side and
You
get to the other
absolutely
side.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
primary thing that I'm teaching people, right? Like I don't have any superpowers. I don't have any magical gifts that nobody else has. I don't. I survived, right? And I
Yeah.
chose to use this. I chose to stop letting it all sit here and just say it. It's the no F given concept, right? Which is it's a bit brash, but at the end of the day, when you learn to stop giving an F what anybody thinks, it's
Yeah.
freedom. If you don't believe my story, awesome. Don't watch
Mm.
it. Go somewhere. I don't care if you don't
Yeah.
believe me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
think it's exaggerated, I don't care. On the same token, if you think it's great and all that, I don't care either. Take it,
Yeah.
enjoy it. If my life can be a template, can be a lesson for somebody to heal, it's so worth it. And I'm not, at the end of the day, it's very selfish, right? Like, I'm not doing this so that you can be healed. I'd be doing it because the more I do it, the more I heal, right?
Yeah.
And I feel whole and healed in my mind, but I still cry, right? I still have emotions. I still
Yeah.
find things out. 10 days ago, I found out that my mother actually trafficked me my whole life.
My God, I'm so
I could,
sorry.
am I going to allow that to debilitate me? Am I going to allow that I'm going to curl up and suck my thumb and be like, my mother, I was trafficked as a child. Well, what does that do to me now? I'm not trafficked now. That gives me more power, is what it does. It puts me in a position where I can now talk to the trafficking victims that I work with and say, I get that. Wow, I get that. And look, it doesn't have to destroy you, right?
Yeah.
And as much as people don't like to hear it, that's a choice, right? None of us choose to be a victim. Every
Yeah.
single one of us choose to remain victims. That's
Yeah.
our choice, right?
Mm.
What happens to us is not easy. It's not easy to talk about. It's not easy to say, but fear is your number one regressor. If you learn to stand up and speak anyway, that's where your freedom is. On the other side of that pain is greatness every single time. Stand up and just speak. I don't care who hears it. I don't care who believes it. I don't care who doesn't believe it. I'm going to say it anyway. I'm going to keep saying it until it doesn't hurt anymore. And that is healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's your mentor's story? Because he was also in the prison system and he
Yeah.
was able to sort of find that compassion and love himself. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much. Like, we didn't go through his life. We had some
Yeah.
casual conversations where we just sat and talked about sports and football and the world and life and religion and
Mm.
um but he was kind of a pretty private guy. He was in prison for murder. He'd been in prison since 1983, I think it was, or 84. And he's doing natural life because that's a thing in the United States. They give you natural life, which, that then you just become a nonstop debit card for the government.
Yeah.
And so he's doing just natural life, and he's very ingratiated into his faith,
Mm.
into the particular sect of faith that he's a part of, which is why we couldn't be friends. And it was never about friendship. It was never about religion. It was just a space in time where I have this certain knowledge that I've gained over my 30 years in prison, and I'm going to dump it on you because I see that you're a very angry young man. And if it helps you, maybe you go help the world. And that's a bit of a legacy for me. Even if I never
Mm.
see it and I never know it, here's some way that I can give back to the world in my own way. And it's something that I strive to do by honoring the memory and the lessons that he taught me. Like, I don't think that he deliberately set out to teach me a lesson or become my mentor. I think he just saw somebody in a position that needed that guidance and decided to give it. Right. I didn't use his real name in the book because I'm not going to put that man in a position to be found out. And I mean, it wouldn't end well for him, right? They're going to be like, why did you help that white boy? Do you see what you did for that kid's life?
Mm.
Like, and something bad could happen to him. So I wouldn't put him in that position, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, for
again,
sure.
a lot of people are like, well, we want to find him, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not going to let that happen because
Mm.
you don't care about his life. You want the
Yeah.
story. And when you
Mhm.
do that, you'll then put that man on display, and somebody could harm that dude for what he's done.
Yeah.
I will protect that
Mhm.
dude until and I don't care if you don't believe me. I don't care.
Mm. Yeah.
You're not going to find him. I'm not going to let you know who he is. Right.
Yeah.
So good luck with
Yeah.
that. Right. I'm not doing it for your belief. I'm doing it for my own mental health and processing to get it out. And if by that process it helps people, awesome. I'm all
Yeah.
about it. I'm here for it. Right.
Mm. Mhm. Mm. Can we talk a little bit about forgiveness?
Of course. It's my
Have
favorite
you
subject.
That's good. It's based on your extraordinary story. It can feel hard to forgive. Have you found that place of forgiveness for yourself and for the people that harmed you?
Of course. And it started with forgiving myself first, right? I think forgiveness is the absolute secret sauce to everything in the world, right? It's the secret to regaining love, compassion, empathy. And it starts with forgiving yourself, realizing that I'm a human being. I don't have a rule book on how to navigate life in all of its complexities. Nobody does. Nobody gets a guidebook. What we get are parents. And parents had the same thing we did. They didn't get a guidebook either. They got parents. And
Yeah.
all of those parents take the experiences that they have had in life and determine, in their opinion, what is the best way to navigate through life. And then they give that opinion to their children. And they call it tradition, or they call it morality, or they call it, this is how the world works. And somebody at some
Yeah.
point wrote it down in a book and said it was divinely inspired. And now we have God. And so we now get all of our rules from God that was put in a book by somebody who had an opinion about how life should be lived. And so that's how these traditions become a thing.
Mm.
And when you realize that, when you reverse engineer that process and realize that religion as a whole, and I don't mean to bag on religion, but all religions and faiths are the opinions of human beings that thought this was the best way to live life.
Yeah.
And there's no actual factual evidence that that was divinely inspired. We think that it was divinely inspired because that's what the person wrote in the book and said it was divinely inspired. And so we're like, oh, yeah, it must have been. Nobody has a guidebook on how to do this. It's experiential. And so, based on that philosophy, you're going to make mistakes, right? You're going to do things that are going to hurt yourself, they're going to hurt other people, and you're going to learn from
Yeah.
those processes, right? You're going to sometimes they're going to hurt, sometimes you're going to be happy, sometimes you're going to feel good, and you're going to put those down in the memory bank as, yeah, let's keep doing that because I like that. Let's don't do
Mm.
that because I don't like that. And here's a new experience. I'm going to try that. And sometimes the ramifications of those experiential moments are pain, and it hurts somebody, right? Or it hurts yourself. And recognizing that I'm a fallible human that doesn't have all the answers, even when I'm just a little kid, even now to this day, we're not done screwing up, right? We still got a
Yeah.
whole lot of life to live. I'm still
Yeah,
going
for
to make
sure.
mistakes.
Yeah.
Knowing that, I can let that go. Let me forgive myself because you didn't have a guidebook. And on top of it, let's throw a whole bunch of trauma in there.
Yeah.
You did the best you could with what you had. And when I see
Yeah.
that for myself, it puts me in a position where I'm able to then look at my victimizers and say, ah, they didn't have a book either, did they?
Yeah.
Right? Something happened to them somewhere in their life that put them on a trajectory of abuse and victimization, right? And
Yeah.
that's the path that they chose to walk to reconcile the experience that they're having in their life, and they don't know how to deal with it. And it's not a justification for pedophilia or abuse or victimizing people, but it puts me in a position where I can just have that much empathy for them. And that opens up a world of magical forgiveness because I can forgive that part. I can see that you were once a little child that had your worldview broken because you started off in love. All of us do. Every one
Yeah.
of us. You look at a baby, it's just love. That's all it exudes is happiness and belly laughs. And it's a baby. And at
Yeah.
some point, it's broken. Even Hitler was a baby at one point, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at that, you're able to humanize the monster. You're able to look at that and say, you know what you did is reprehensible, it's inexcusable, it's unjustifiable, but I forgive you. I forgive you not because it gives you a pass, but it releases me. It lets me get out from the cloud of victimization and hurt and pain that I've been stuck under by your actions, and I can breathe. I don't have you in my wall anymore of people that did me wrong. I'm going to keep you here. And this is a visual reminder of the pain and trauma that I've been through. I can now take that picture down, throw it out. And when I look up, I just see a beautiful mural on my wall of happiness and let
Yeah.
it go. Right. And so that's my take on forgiveness.
Yeah. I also find it unhooks you from from the relationship, right? In order for you to
Sure.
have a perpetrator, you have to have a victim, right? Like you can't have one
Sure.
without the other. And so it sort of unhooks you from the story. It's like, I don't need this to define me anymore.
Yeah,
The other thing,
100%.
the other thing as well as I was listening to you, you talked about the importance of community, understanding why people abuse. And I think about this a lot. Like, why do people do the things that they do? Why would you want to hurt a child? Why do you need to do that? And it makes me think about the more we understand why people behave a certain way, the more that we can then address it. What I mean is, if you are being raised by parents that are not able to, because they don't have the book or the information to know how to navigate, and they're just navigating from their trauma, if we can incorporate into this life different points where people get curious, why is a 7-year old like acting out aggressively? And as a community coming together, wrapping around that 7-year old to help that 7-year old, maybe even help the parents, maybe together or separately. Maybe they can't live together in that moment, but maybe help that parent so that they can stop the trauma and help stop hurting someone else and help that 7-year old. We have to change. We have to care about other children as our children. We have to care about other people as brothers and sisters. And I think that's goes back to, again, your point of individuality that's sort of been conditioned out of us.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
100%.
so what might help us get back to that connection, get back to that, so that then we can stop this cycle? Because if we stop caring about one another, we're only going to end up in a world where we are negatively impacted because we're interconnected.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't know that. I, I mean, it sounds so nihilistic, but I don't know that there is a comeback, right? I don't, I think self-destruction is imminent, right? Like it's
Yeah.
because it's going to take a global mindset. It's going to take one powerful leader. It's going to start with a person. Someone's voice has to be elevated enough where everyone hears it and says, yeah, no, I guess that's the answer. The problem is greed, right? Greed is such a dominant force in the world that we live in. Most people that grow up, again, they're seeking this materialistic level of advancement,
Mm.
and they won't, especially in the United States, are working to hit that level. And once they hit that level, it changes them fundamentally. They don't care about anybody else anymore, right? I made my
Mm.
first million and now I want 500 of them.
Mhm.
Instead of getting to this $1 million threshold, which it's not just the individual's fault, right? We also live in a government that perpetually increases the cost of living so that
Yeah.
$1 million doesn't even do anything anymore. Like it doesn't
Mm.
even buy you an apartment where I live,
Mm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But once they get to a position of wealth, they don't automatically fall into a mindset of, great, let me help everybody else around me get here. They
Yeah.
just go into a I need more phase, right? We're
Yeah.
like, oh, I got wealthy. Let me get mega wealthy. And then when they
Mhm.
get mega wealthy, now let me get ultra wealthy. And they get ultra wealthy and they're like, ooh, maybe I can crack the top 50. And then they
Yeah.
get lost in this competitive building of wealth and they lose, or if they ever had, their compassion for humanity to try to build that. And so the only person that's really going to start raising their voice to help that change are people like you and I, right? That
Mm.
we're not
Yeah.
wealthy.
Mm.
And then all the wealthy people look at that and they be like, oh, of course you want everybody to change and be nicer because you don't have anything, you poor, poor person. And so
Yeah.
as
I
more
would say we're
wealthy,
wealthy in something that is way more meaningful.
I'm rich. I'm so
Yeah.
rich. I always say
Yeah.
I'm wealthy AF and broke as hell, right? Right. Like I don't have monetary thing. I mean, and I do. I mean, I'm not by any means, I'm not living in poverty, but
Yeah.
I'm not wealthy. But I am
Mm.
so wealthy, right? Like I have
Yeah.
beautiful friends, beautiful families. I got a dog that I worship. I have the love of my life in my life, and I couldn't ask for a better life, right? I'm so happy with it. And this is the mindset that's needed to make the change that we're talking about. When you get wealthy, you then want to help heal the world, which is what I
Yeah.
do. I'm on a mission now. I said, what do I do now? I own several businesses. My wife and I, we're entrepreneurs. We have,
Mm.
several streams of income and multiple businesses. And what do I do now? I want to heal. I want to help people heal. You know what? I'm going to get in my car and just drive around the country and go have conversations with people to help them heal.
Yeah.
That's what you do. That's the mindset it's going to take to reverse the problem that's been created. Right? When people hit a level of financial freedom, go show the world how you got there. Go help
Mm.
people. Right? Just go out there and give it away. The more you give it away, the more they're going to buy it anyway. Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
go and I've come to find that in just the 15, 16 days that I've been on this tour so far, already here comes the blessings, right? The universe is providing.
Yeah.
I didn't have to spend $2,000 for a hotel. I get to stay in a massively beautiful home in such a beautiful part of this country, like
Yeah.
for free. Like the universe provides when you live
It
in your
does.
purpose, like when you live for something better. And that's the mentality it's going to take to change this ridiculously self-centered world that we're living in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that because I saw this TED talk, which is like how to start a movement. And so they were talking about, have you seen it? It's like
I don't think so.
this one guy dancing at a festival, right? Like it's a single guy dancing at a festival. And they said, the leaders tend to be just lone nuts until somebody follows them. And then there was another guy who starts following that guy, and then everyone else starts following that guy. And then before you know it, everyone's dancing at the festival. And what this TEDx speaker was trying to show is that leaders are nobody except for their followers, right? People follow the followers, they don't
Facts.
follow the leaders, right?
Facts.
And so when you think about people's money made those people billionaires. 10 million people followed Hitler. So I think when people start realizing that they have more power, they're giving away their power, they're making these people, and the power that enabled these people to be billionaires is the same power that would make them broke.
Yeah.
It's the withdrawal of that. And I think when people start realizing that they are the ones with the power, and I think that's where you are showing them. If you could overcome such adversity, like all of the things you have faced, and still find compassion and love for humanity. Ooh, I think people that
Yeah.
have like daily adversities can get to that point, Sonny, right?
I think people started to realize the philosophy that you're talking about, and then the effects of the national mentality kick in.
Mm.
And that's where cancel culture came from, right?
Well, I have
So,
kind of an interesting perspective on cancel culture.
so cancel
Yeah.
culture, they determined that we have the power. People are only famous because we follow them. They're only famous
Right.
because we support them. And,
Yeah.
and people only have that celebrity status because of us. And we can take that away just as much as we can build it if we band together, united under the same cause. And then you saw this wave of cancel culture sweep through and destroy lives,
Yeah.
destroy top legendary celebrities. You've gotten historical cartoon characters and figures removed from the pages of history. They began to see their power, and that's the point when people realize that this power exists.
Mhm.
That's just the beginning, right? That's the self-centered mindset that we're raised with takes over. And then if they would have done cancel culture from the point of, instead of eradicating them from the books of history, let's shower them with love and show them what they did wrong and help them heal. You would have healed the
Yeah.
world. You
Yeah.
that cancel culture movement could have become the world peace that everybody's been talking about since the dawning of time.
Yeah.
Like you had
Yeah.
it, you were that close,
Yeah.
but
But I still think we
you
can do it. I'll tell you why.
yeah, people are
I
just
think the
in love
reason why,
with drama.
right. So I think the reason why cancel culture sort of evolved the way that it did is because people can't emotionally regulate enough to hear opposing discourse. I see it in
Sure,
my students.
sure.
So I'm a professor at a university, and I'm supposed to teach them critical thinking, like critical
I love
appraisal,
it.
critical thinking. Okay.
Sure, sure.
So my students, by the time they get to me, they've been so conditioned in the education system to passively accept information. They're not taught
Sure.
both sides of the equation. They're not taught, well, this was a war. This was their perspective. This was their perspective. And so they've taught that there is just one way. And they don't have the emotional girth, like they don't have the ability to hold space for their difficult feelings enough to engage in difficult conversations. So there's an immediate rejection, there's an immediate like parachute pull, because as soon as they start to feel uncomfortable, because think about it, as children, I was not taught that my emotions were all welcome and that I was okay to have difficult feelings. I was only supposed to express happiness. I was only supposed to express quietness. I was not supposed to even have a voice. And so I learned that my emotions, especially difficult emotions, were not welcome. My parents didn't have the emotional girth to hold space for me. And so I
Sure.
needed to change so that they could feel okay. But one of the things I've learned about in finding compassion for myself and holding space for those difficult feelings, I can listen to the perspective of other extreme people, not be sunk by it, and actually engage in conversation. So I think that the cancel culture has to do with like what you're talking about, which is like that individuality and the inability to hold those difficult emotions enough to be able to stay in dialogue. And I think that's where sort of you've gained mastery because going through that other side, it's nothing but difficult emotions. All of the
Yeah.
things you live through, through solitary confinement, like you've gained mastery in difficult emotions.
They say that it's 10,000 hours to master something, right?
Yeah.
And it was way more than 10,000 hours of just wallowing in my own trauma to figure it out. So yeah, I've kind of mastered
Yeah.
emotional regulation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I couldn't leave. I didn't have a choice. So I went
Yeah.
through the depression. I went through the suicidal ideations. I went through the screaming and crying and feeling sorry for myself to the hateful, uh, all in a box and there's nowhere to go. And so when the
Yeah.
demons can't escape, you got to face them. And
Good
I
friend.
love saying nobody ever goes to rock bottom twice, right? If rock bottom has become a catchphrase and a click phrase that people use,
Yeah.
you've never been there twice, right? When you go to rock bottom, you either kill yourself or change your life. And
Mm.
that
Mm.
feeling of where you were will compel you. I'm never going to feel that again, ever.
Yeah.
So my whole life and worldview is different now.
Yeah.
That's what rock bottom does to you. So if you are someone that's still in a phase where it's like, I was just at rock bottom and I'm trying to figure it out. You weren't at rock bottom, my man, because it's a very clear and decisive line there. I'm either going to
Yeah.
end it or change it. And unfortunately, we see more than 500,000 men a year that just choose to end it.
Yeah.
Right. And if we can change
Yeah.
that number, that's one dude a minute. You and I have been on this call for an hour and 3 minutes now. That is,
Yeah.
how many men that is? It's 63 men have killed themselves since we started this conversation.
Yeah.
That's horrible. Right.
Yeah.
And it's because they don't feel safe to just speak. And I'm telling you that you don't have to feel safe. Right? Just speak. Put your camera down, set your phone on, and just dump it to the world and say, you know what? I'm not talking to humans. I'm talking to this camera.
Yeah.
And just dump it out and just hit that button, right? Face that fear. Do it anyway. Just don't give up who's going to see it. Just do it. And it's the most liberating thing you'll ever do in your life, right? And the best part is
Mm.
that somebody's going to send you a message and say, wow, that was
Thank
inspiring.
you.
I want to do that too. And then they're going to go do it. And you start this butterfly effect of healing,
Yeah.
right? And yeah,
Yeah.
somebody's going to come in and be like, oh, which guy was your favorite? Oh, you must be gay. That's why that happened. Oh, you're lying. That didn't happen. Oh, you're exaggerating. No one arrests a 7-year-old. I don't
Yeah.
care because I
Yeah.
can show you one message from one person that came in and said I was going to kill myself. And I saw your video.
Yeah.
And that message dominates every other comment that any of you could ever put out there that
Yeah.
that's negative or that tries to affect
Yeah.
me or hurt
Yeah.
me. So,
I did want to share this with you. So I'm working on a documentary of people that I had interviewed that had chosen to like love their enemy. And you know what I mean? Like people
yeah,
that have not only like forgiven, but also said, I'm going to help you.
sure.
And that is tends to be the reaction, even from their closest people. It's either guruism, like, oh, you must be so special and extraordinary, which is why I love what you said earlier. They're like, you're like, I don't have any special sauce. I just want you to do this for yourself.
Yeah.
And the other one is that you're a liar. There's no way you forgave this person. There's no way that you did this. There's no way that, because I think people can't cope with the truth. I think it's
Yeah.
hard for some people who believe, because then they have to make a choice. Then
Yeah.
they're responsible. Then they have
Yeah.
to say, I am choosing. Right. And I think that's what your life so beautifully illustrates. You've spoken
It's
about
choice.
choice several times. I had to choose to change my lens. I couldn't change the circumstances, but I
Yeah.
could change how I reacted.
It's the primary teaching principle that I use, right? Like
Mm.
everything is literally a choice. You're living the life that you want. I don't want to live here. I don't want to do this. Well, where would you want? I had that session with that same woman.
Yeah.
Where do you want to live? I want to live on the ocean. So where do you live? Well, I live here with my husband and my kids. Well, that's what you want. Do you want to live here in a miserable existence with your husband and your kids in a life that you don't want because you feel subjugated? That's what you want. I don't want that. Then why are you doing it?
Mm.
Well, because I don't have anything. So what happens if you leave? What? Oh, I'd be broke. People would be mad at me. Everybody would hate me. Blah 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 blah. But what would you have? The ocean, right? That's what you want.
And you,
So
yeah.
it's not a fact that you can't do it. It's a fact that you want to please everybody else and not please yourself. And so you have the life that you want, right?
Yeah.
If you really wanted the ocean, your ass would be at the ocean. Right? I
Exactly. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you clearly don't want the ocean that much. You're just
Yeah.
captivated by the fear of somebody else's opinion. It's not you, it's somebody else's opinion, right? Your husband's
Yeah.
opinion, your kid's opinion, your mom's opinion. If I could tell you how many people in this world are being held captive to their past because their mother's alive, you'd be like, oh, I can't tell my story. My mom, if she heard that, it would kill her. Well, where was your mom when that was happening?
Mm.
Right? So
Yeah.
you care more about protecting your mom's reaction to your truth and your trauma than she did about helping you prevent that trauma or work through that trauma.
Mm. Yeah. I
Live the
understand that.
life you want, identify what you want, and stop caring what anybody else wants. Do
Mm.
you?
Yeah.
Because you doing that is going to be the most inspirational thing for anybody that watches you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well,
If you're a very miserable person, that's what people see and that's what people watch. No matter how much you're like, I'm a good person, I volunteer here, I do this, I do that, but oh, my life, I wish I had this, I wish I had this. You're just literally showing people, here's somebody that's unhappy with what they have and wishes they had something else. And then you're just teaching anybody that's actually watching you and inspired by you to live small. And when you finally take that leap and you go out and you do it, yes, all these people might be angry. Some people aren't going to like it because you're holding up a mirror to what they're afraid to do. When you do go do it, the other people are going to be like, oh my God, she did it. Go live the
yeah.
life of your dreams. You are worth it.
Beautiful. I was thinking about as you were speaking, I think there is a fear of authenticity, right? Because the majority of people are living the lives they think they should live. I should want that house, or I should want this marriage, or I should want that. And so when authentic people come out and say, just be authentically yourselves, they're like, well, how should I do that to
Comfortable
see?
living vicariously thanks to
Yeah.
the internet. So they're like, oh, I don't have to go do it. I'll just watch Sonny do it. Oh, he's
Yeah.
so lucky. Oh, he's so
Yeah.
lucky.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a lucky man. You're so blessed. You're so lucky. Oh,
Yeah.
do you know how much I had to go through to get this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Lucky? Come on.
Yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on.
I
I got
think,
a
and
lottery
so
ticket over here for you.
thank you for mentioning that, because it takes an extraordinary amount of courage to live authentically, to face your demons, to face your story, and still be willing to love and have compassion in the end. And so I
Yeah.
think people don't understand just how courageous, which is why the majority of people don't do it
Yeah.
because it's
But
so uncomfortable. Yeah.
it's just the first step, right?
Yeah.
Because once you dip your toe in that water, it's the most liberating thing in the world, right? Like I cannot go back, right? You want to
Yeah.
talk about high, chasing a high. Like there's no drug on earth that has ever, I've dabbled in a few. There's no drug on earth that's ever given me the feeling that I have every day when I just wake up and I get smacked by the world in the face and breathe in that fresh air. Like, the gratitude for having a nose to smell, having the ability to feel that wind on my face, having feet that allow me to walk outside. I have, it brings me to tears. Like, I'm
Yeah.
so grateful because I have it. There's some people that don't have arms, they don't have legs, they don't have feet, they can't smell, they don't get to partake in the beautiful existence that's called life. And
Yeah.
it's so sad for those of us that do have it and you just neglect it because you're so
Yeah.
worried about the car you drive or the house you live in or the clothes you're wearing, what the next person next door is going to think of you, even though that person doesn't partake in your life. That person's
Yeah.
not in your bed. That person's not in your house. They don't eat at your table. They don't even know your name. And you're more
Mhm.
worried about what they think about you
Yeah.
than going
Very
outside
true.
and enjoying that fresh breath of air and wind. And I'm captivated by the beauty of the existence of the world, right? Like, and
Mm.
I'm so grateful for it every day. I just wake up in gratitude. I spend my day in gratitude. And that's the secret key, right? And that's
Yeah.
yeah. And it sucks because I think it's experiential, right? Like I had to go through everything that I went through in my life to be able to be in the position that I am. And I'm doing my best to try to give that perspective to people so you don't have to.
Mm. Yeah.
Like you really don't. You're probably going to because that's the human nature is to learn things through experience. But somebody somewhere might listen and be like, oh,
Yeah.
no, I don't actually have to go through all that. I can stop suffering and actually just go live that. And
Yeah.
there you go, my guy. If I can just give
Mm.
that to one person, awesome.
Mhm. Yeah.
Most of us are very
Beautifully
stubborn and
said.
we're just going to have to learn through loss.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Uh,
Final two. What's your definition of love?
Oof. That's the first time I've been asked that. I think my definition of love is how I make someone leave an interaction with me.
Mm.
Like what kind of memory do they take away? I want everybody that ever has an interaction with me to walk away feeling better or feeling
Mm.
hopeful
Mhm.
or feeling inspired, knowing that they're seen and that they matter. And I think love is providing that for people. I think love is showing people they exist. It's like
Yeah.
seeing you, right? Like
Mm.
I
Mhm.
don't care if you're wearing a $5,000 suit or if you're wearing a $5 pair of shoes and you're piss poor homeless on the street. I see you, right?
Yeah.
Like your life is worth
Yeah.
your life is
Mm.
worthy, right? You're worth
Mhm.
existing. You're the only version of you that is on this planet, and
Yeah.
you deserve to be here, right? Like you didn't ask for your trauma, you didn't ask for your pain. And this beautiful thing that we live in, this one experience that we get, you deserve to partake in it,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
whew, you give
And
me
I think
goosebumps.
that's, I, I think that's love, right? And
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. So where can people find you? What are your links? Where can they find your book? Please share anything that you want to
Uh,
promote,
yeah,
including
you
your
can
tour.
just Google Sonny Von Cleveland. Oh, that's the
Yes.
best way to get to it, right? Look, we done
Okay.
we done got the tears, and
Yeah.
I love the tears, right? The tears let you know that you're
Yeah.
alive.
Yeah.
That's love, right?
Yeah.
That's love, like
Yeah.
feeling compassion, feeling for people. But yeah, just best way is to I have a link tree like on my Instagram, or if you go to
Beautiful.
sonnyvoncleveland.com, you can find information there. Just hop on Google and Sonny Von Cleveland, you're gonna find it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. And thank you, everyone, for joining us for another episode of Loving Compassion with Giselle. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.